In my most humble of opinions, I think this is going to be a fun video. This is actually one of my favorite little crafts to put together. It's an easy way to make a sharp looking knife, and that is a pun intended on that. But a sharp looking knife, very functional, use it for a lot of different things. This one might be geared a little bit more towards carving with that 3-inch blade. But if you don't have the resources or the tools for forging, getting these Morikanev knife blanks is a really easy, nice alternative to hammering steel. You can find them all over the place. I think I got this one on Amazon. So I'm just taking some basic epoxy, some copper scrap, walnut, piece of maple, and we're going to put this together. I hope you like it. So with this bad bear, we have 3 inches of cutting surface and then about 3 3/4 inch worth of tang on the back of that. So the plan right now is to take this walnut and maple and then this copper, and then we'll epoxy that all together with inserting the tang down through the copper, which will be a little bit of a trick. You can see on that it's a little bit tapered. You got to take that into consideration when you're grinding out this copper or filing it out, but it's pretty thin, so you don't have to worry about removing too much material on this one. With this little chunk of copper, I put 3 little dimples in there. It just makes it a little bit easier to drill that out. I just used a regular cordless drill to open that up a little bit, just a rough opening. It doesn't have to be remotely close to what the end opening is going to be, because I'm going to go put this over on the anvil and smack it around just a little bit. But you can see that tang will slide into there and ultimately will get fitted. Got to kind of watch the color on this. And once that thing is just blazing hot, we'll get a little dunk. And that makes that copper a little more malleable, easy to work. Thin this out just a little bit, and then we're going to texture it. For this part, just to make sure that that back is flat, I'll just put a file in the vise there and give it a few rubs back and forth. You can see how it starts to flatten that out. That'll be important when we do our epoxy glue up. That wood is extremely square, so we just need to make sure that metal is the same. Instead of trying to file off all that material, I'll just use bolt cutters and cut in some edges there. And just like that, we've got our roughed in copper. Just a little bit more fit and finish on that. I like to do that drill bit just a little bit wider than the blade. And then we'll hog that out a little bit. Give it plenty of epoxy, or plenty of room for the epoxy to get in there. There we go. And when you take your time on that little piece of copper, or however you decide to finish that, it usually stands up in there just about right. It's been roughly 24 hours since we put that epoxy on there and put everything together, and it is set up nicely. You could certainly use a rasp to work that down, get that shape to how you want it, but I just have a super duper Harbor Freight belt sander that makes pretty dang quick work of it. As you can see, I'm just going to follow the outline of that copper and just work it around. It is going to be kind of a carving knife, so the handle is going to look kind of big for the size of the blade, but I just want to make sure it's real comfortable in the hand. I am not super great with the belt sander or the belt grinder, so I just keep rolling it, take my time. It's a pretty aggressive belt, takes off a lot of material, but you certainly don't have to do that. But once I have that profile shaped, then I'll start working my way down the handle. Once I've taken that down to a rough profile, I'll just put it in the vise and do a little bit of hand sanding on that. Once I have that sanded down, I like to put it back in the vise with a file and just go around and clean up that copper. It doesn't take a lot. That metal's so soft it just smooths out. It does not take very long to get that shaped how you want it. When you're filing that copper, just be careful about how hard you're pushing on that, because it can erase pretty quickly. So sand that, file that as smooth as you want it. I like a little bit of texture in there, it gives it character, but this is a very easy finish. I do like to take a brass wheel and clean that up a little bit. Some of the epoxy that spilled over, it's pretty easy to take off. And this will be just a little bit of boiled linseed oil. And with a little bit of that boiled linseed oil on there, this is where we're going to finish out about 95% solution for this knife. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't also make a sheath for my buddy. So once that's done, we'll go ahead and come back and clean this up just a little bit. But it feels really good in the hand. I think it'll be very purpose-driven, great use for carving, scribing, just overall shop knife, camp knife. But very easy build so far to this point. Now we're going to move on to making the sheath. I decided on this sheath that I'll probably just do a compression style, really easy to make. Gives you a lot of room if you want to do any kind of stamp work on there. But this makes it nice. You just cut the template out, trace it on the leather and cut it out. So I use that template to cut out these two other pieces, and then I like to do a little spacer at the bottom when I put that all together, just in case that knife goes in a little deeper than it should. It won't go stabbing out in the bottom. It has a little bit of play there. Oh, a little slip. I'll let that set up for about 15 minutes. Get real tacky on both sides, and then just lay these on top. After hammering these out, put a little bit of design on there. They don't always fit up perfectly, but that's okay because we're going to trim it later anyways. And then I'll clamp these. Now that that's had a chance to sit for a little while, we'll get ready to start punching. Time to do some stitching. If only I had a knife to cut that. Ooh, so sharp. Come on now. The stitching pony makes it really nice. All stitched up. Time to make these edges match up just a little bit better. Now I'm just going to wet form the sheath a little bit. So I'll get that guy soaking wet, wrap this up in saran wrap, and then we'll put it in there for probably about a day. Get that nice and soggy. Just going to work that in for a little while and then get it put into a couple of clamps. So we let this one sit for a while in the clamps. See how that formed? We'll come back and smooth that down just a little bit more. But I want to do a quick shout out to my son. Look at this knife. He just made that. That's pretty cool, dude. Putting on the burnishing solution is one of my favorites because it hides all my crappy edge work once you roll that over. come back and do a little bit more up here and clean off that hilt a little bit more. Thanks for watching.